The three massive warships moved through the darkness of space like sharks hunting in deep water. Their hulls gleamed with the dark purple metal that marked them as vessels of the Empire. Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the scanner displays with cold satisfaction. Somewhere in this asteroid field, a pathetic merchant ship was hiding. Somewhere nearby, frightened prey waited for the inevitable end. "Commander, we are picking up traces of engine residue near the third quadrant," his sensor officer reported. The young male's voice carried excitement. This was his first real hunt, and he was eager to prove himself. Allowed himself a thin smile. "Send the secondary cruisers to flank positions. I want that vessel trapped before they can even think about running." He touched the control panel on his command chair. "All ships, spread formation. Our prey has nowhere to go." The three cruisers split apart, each one moving to cover a different section of the asteroid field. They had done this hundreds of times before. The Empire ruled this sector of space through simple superiority. Their weapons were stronger. Their shields were better. Their warriors were trained from birth for combat. No species in known space could match them in battle. No species had ever destroyed a warship in direct combat. "The merchant vessel violated our borders 3 cycles ago," said to his crew. "They ignored our warning beacons. They refused to submit to inspection. Now they will learn what happens when lesser species disrespect the Empire." His crew responded with the traditional battle cry. They were ready. They were always ready. Far away, hidden deep within the asteroid field, another ship waited in complete silence. The Earth warship Valiant hung motionless in the shadow of a massive space rock. Every system that could make noise or emit a signal was turned off. The crew moved carefully, speaking only in whispers when absolutely necessary. They had been waiting here for 6 hours, barely breathing, watching the hunters come closer. Captain Jake sat in his command chair, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The 3 cruisers showed as red markers on his screen. They were spreading out, searching, confident in their power. They had no idea the Valiant was here. They had no idea what was coming. "Captain, all 3 targets are now in optimal strike range," Lieutenant Ben said quietly from the tactical station. His fingers moved across his console without making a sound. "Lead target is 2,000 kilometers off our port side. Shields are up, but they are scanning actively, not defensively." "Communications?" asked. Lieutenant Amy looked up from her station. "I am monitoring their transmissions, sir. They are laughing about the human colony ship they destroyed last month. They are calling us weak. They are saying we are not worth their time." His jaw tightened. The colony ship Horizon had carried 3,000 civilians. Men, women, children, all dead because the Empire wanted to send a message to Earth. All dead because the galaxy thought humans were too primitive to matter. "Engineering status?" asked. "All systems ready, Captain," Lieutenant Chris Walker replied from the engineering station. "Capacitors are at full charge. Stealth systems are holding perfectly. We are invisible to them." Commander Lisa Grant, second in command, leaned closer. "Once we fire, there is no going back. Earth will be at war with the Empire." Nodded slowly. "Earth Command gave us clearance 30 minutes ago. The decision is made. We are not going to let them keep killing our people." He looked around at his crew. They were young, most of them. This was humanity's first real warship, and these were the best officers Earth had to offer. They had trained for months for this exact moment. "Captain," Amy said, her voice tight with anger, "the lead ship just transmitted a joke about human children burning in the horizon." That was enough. "Tactical, lock all weapons on the lead target," said calmly. "Target their engine core and shield generators. Communications, prepare the message we discussed. Engineering, I need full power to weapons and engines immediately after we fire." The crew moved with practiced efficiency. This was what they had trained for. This was why the Valiant existed. "Weapons locked," Ben confirmed. "Message ready," Amy said. "Power ready," Chris added. Took one deep breath. Somewhere back on Earth, families were still grieving for the horizon. Somewhere in space, the Empire thought they could do whatever they wanted to humanity. It was time to teach them otherwise. "Fire ordered." The Valiant came alive. The stealth system shut down as massive extended from the ship's hull. These were not energy weapons like most species used. These were purely kinetic weapons, designed by human engineers who understood that sometimes the simplest solution was the best one. Solid slugs of tungsten accelerated to a fraction of light speed. The first 3 rounds hit the flagship before even new danger existed. The slugs punched through shields that were never designed to stop solid projectiles. They tore through armor plating like paper. They found the engine core and detonated it from the inside. Was thrown from his command chair as his ship died around him. Emergency alarms screamed. The lights failed. His crew shouted in panic and confusion. Through the chaos, he heard his sensor officer screaming. Contact, unknown vessel. It just appeared 2,000 kilometers away. Howe roared, "How did it get that close?" He pulled himself up and stared at the main. There, hanging in space like a predator that had just struck, was a ship unlike anything he had ever seen. It was smaller than his cruiser but sleek and deadly looking. Its hull was covered in angles that seemed to absorb light. Weapons ports glowed with ready fire. And on its hull, written in clear letters, were words in the human language. "What is that ship?" demanded. His tactical officer checked the scanners with shaking hands. "Commander, our database has no record of this vessel type. It does not match any known human design. Its signature is minimal. Our sensors barely register it now even though we are looking right at it." Felt something he had not experienced in 20 years of military service. He felt fear. "The second cruiser is moving to engage," his communications officer reported. "Captain is ordering us to evacuate the flagship." Captain had served in the military for 15 years. He had fought in 12 campaigns. He had destroyed enemy ships from 7 different species. He had never once felt the cold grip of true terror until this moment. His cruiser's sensors showed the human ship moving through the asteroid field like a ghost. It would appear on scanners for a moment, then vanish completely. Every time it vanished, knew it was repositioning for another strike. Every time the sensors went blank, his crew held their breath and waited for death. "All weapons fire on that position," shouted, pointing at the last known location of the human vessel. His weapons officer obeyed instantly. Energy beams lanced out into the darkness, striking asteroids and empty space. Nothing else. "No contact, Captain," the weapons officer reported. "The target is gone." "Gone where?" demanded. "Ships cannot just disappear." But this one did, watched his tactical display helplessly. The human ship was out there somewhere, watching them, planning the next attack. His third cruiser, commanded by Captain, was trying to form up with him for mutual defense. But they were moving through an asteroid field, and the human ship was somewhere in the shadows. "Captain receiving transmission from Commander's flagship," the communications officer said. "They are evacuating. The ship is dying. Half the crew is dead." Felt his blood turn cold. The flagship had been struck once, just once, and it was dying. What kind of weapons did humans have? On the bridge of the Valiant, Jake studied the tactical display with calm focus. His crew had just fired their first shots in combat. They had just crippled a ship twice their size, and now they had to finish the job. "Captain, the second cruiser is moving toward the third," Ben reported from tactical. "They are trying to group together, classic defensive formation." Nodded. "They think there is safety in numbers. Lisa, what do you think?" Commander Lisa Grant looked at the display and smiled slightly. "I think they still do not understand what they are facing. They are treating us like a normal warship. They expect us to come at them head-on." "Exactly," agreed. He touched his communications panel. "Amy, what are they saying to each other?" Amy listened to the intercepted transmissions for a moment. "They are confused and scared, sir. The second cruiser's captain is ordering all ships to activate maximum shields and maintain active sensor sweeps. He thinks that will help them find us." "It will do the opposite," Ben said with satisfaction. "Every time they use active sensors, they light themselves up like beacons. We can track them perfectly while they get almost nothing back from us." Looked at his chief engineer. "Chris, how are our systems?" Lieutenant Chris Walker checked his displays. "Stealth coating is operating at 98% efficiency. The capacitors are recharging. We will be ready to fire again in 2 minutes. Engine power is optimal. We can maintain this all day if you need us to, Captain." 2 minutes, used the time to explain their next move to his crew. The Empire has never fought an enemy they could not see. Every species they have conquered used energy weapons and active sensors. They have no experience with passive hunting. We spent 6 months training for this because Earth studied how they fight. We know their tactics. They do not know ours. Lieutenant Foster at the weapons station spoke up. "Captain, permission to speak freely." "Granted." "We just killed a lot of beings on that first ship," said quietly. "Some of my friends back home would say that makes us no better than them." Understood her conflict. He felt it too. "You are right, Lieutenant. We did kill them, but they came to human space and murdered 3,000 civilians. They laughed about it. They plan to do it again. Sometimes the only way to stop a predator is to become one yourself. Sometimes the only language a bully understands is force." The bridge was silent for a moment, then nodded. "Understood, sir. Weapons ready." "Good," said, "because here we go again." The Valiant moved through the asteroids like a hunting cat. Its engines fired in brief, carefully controlled bursts that were too small for the sensors to detect at range. It used the asteroids themselves for cover, sliding through gaps that the larger ships could never fit through. And all the while, it tracked its prey with perfect precision. "Captain, I have firing solution on the second target," Ben announced. "They are still trying to link up with the third cruiser. If we hit them now, we can catch them in the middle of their maneuver." "Amy, prepare the message," ordered. Amy's fingers moved across her console. "Message ready, sir." "Fire," said. The Valiant appeared from behind a massive asteroid already firing. The spoke again, sending solid death across the void. This time had ordered precision strikes instead of a killing blow. The tungsten slugs hit the second cruiser's engine section and weapon arrays with surgical accuracy. Explosions rippled across the alien ship's hull. It began to tumble, its engines destroyed, its weapons offline. But the crew was still alive. The life support was still functioning. That was intentional. "Broadcasting now," Amy said. The message went out on all military frequencies. It was simple, spoken in their own language by Amy, who had learned it specifically for this moment. "This is for the colony ship Horizon. We do not forget." On the bridge of his dying cruiser, Captain heard those words and finally understood. This was not a random encounter. This was not a patrol action. This was revenge. The humans had come hunting for the ship that destroyed the Horizon. They had come hunting for him. "Move," he shouted at his helmsman. "Maximum speed, get us to the jump point." His cruiser lurched forward, engines straining. Captain and the third cruiser followed, both ships racing for the jump point that would let them escape this nightmare. Behind them, the human warship followed at a steady, unhurried pace. "They are chasing us," the sensor officer reported unnecessarily. Everyone could see it on the screens. "How fast?" asked. "They are matching our speed exactly, Captain. They are not even trying to catch us. They are just following." Felt sick, the human ship could move faster. It could catch them easily. But it was not doing that. It was hurting them like prey animals, keeping them running, keeping them scared. This was psychological warfare of a kind they had never experienced. "Signal, Captain," ordered. "Tell him to break off and attack the human ship. I will make it to the jump point and bring back reinforcements." His communications officer looked at him with barely concealed disgust. They both knew what that order meant, was sacrificing to save himself, but did not care anymore. He just wanted to survive. Watch the third cruiser break formation and turn toward the Valiant. "Brave," he said quietly. "Stupid, but brave." "Orders, Captain?" Ben asked. Considered for a moment. The third ship was coming at them with weapons hot and shields at maximum. Its captain knew this was a suicide run, but was doing it anyway to let his comrade escape. That took courage, even if they were the enemy. "Disable it," said. "Take out engines and weapons, but leave life support intact. These are warriors following orders. We are not executioners." The Valiant dodged the clumsy attack easily and returned fire with devastating accuracy. Within 60 seconds, the third cruiser was dead in space, powerless and helpless. Its crew was alive, but their ship would never fight again. "Target eliminated," Ben reported. "The second cruiser is approaching the jump point. He will escape in 30 seconds. "No, he will not," said calmly. "One more shot, take out his jump drive, but leave everything else intact." The final shot crossed the void in silence. It hit the fleeing cruiser's jump drive housing with perfect accuracy. The drive overloaded and shut down automatically to prevent a catastrophic explosion. Captain's cruiser coasted to a stop, trapped in normal space, unable to jump away. "Amy, broadcast the combat footage on all galactic frequencies," ordered. "Make sure everyone sees what happened here." "Yes, sir, transmitting now." Stood and walked to the front of the bridge, looking out at the three crippled warships. Send one more message to the surviving crews. Tell them their leaders can either pick them up and discuss peace, or we can finish what we started. Their choice. The message went out, and across the galaxy, on every space station and every ship and every the Galactic Council chamber was a massive structure that floated in neutral space. It had been built 300 years ago as a place where all species could meet and resolve disputes peacefully. At least, that was the theory. In practice, the Council was dominated by the strong, and the weak were expected to be grateful for whatever scraps they received. Ambassador Pierce sat in the human delegation's seat and tried not to show her frustration. She had been pleading Earth's case for 3 months now. She had shown evidence of aggression. She had provided proof that the destruction of the colony ship Horizon was deliberate, and every single time, the Council had dismissed her concerns. Ambassador Pierce, Council head diplomat said in his usual condescending tone, "We have reviewed your claims once again. The Empire has stated that the destruction of your colony ship was an unfortunate accident. They have expressed regret. Surely that should be sufficient." Stood slowly. She was a small woman, barely over 5 feet tall, but she had learned long ago that presence was not about size. "Sufficient? They killed 3,000 of my people and called it an accident. Then they laughed about it on open channels. And you call that sufficient?" Species did not have expressions that humans could easily read, but thought she detected irritation. The Empire is a founding member of this council. They have proven their strength and reliability over centuries. Earth has been part of the galactic community for less than 5 years. Perhaps it would be wise for your species to show more humility and less aggression. Other council members murmured agreement, looked around at them and saw what she had always seen. Fear. They were all afraid of the Empire. They had all bent the knee at some point, and they expected humanity to do the same. "We tried humility," said quietly. "We tried diplomacy. We tried following all your rules and procedures, and our people still died, so perhaps we need to try something else." Before could respond, every communication device in the chamber activated at once. Emergency priority transmissions began flooding in from across the galaxy, saw the council members checking their devices with confusion, then shock, then fear. Looked up from his device, his skin color changing to a shade that had learned meant extreme distress. "This cannot be real. This must be." "What cannot be real?" asked, though she had a good idea. She had been expecting this. "A single human warship has engaged 3 cruisers in the outer rim," another council member reported, her voice shaking. "The footage is being broadcast across all frequencies. The human ship destroyed all 3 vessels." The chamber erupted in chaos. Council members were shouting questions, demanding answers, accusing each other of conspiracy. Sat calmly and waited. After a few minutes, managed to restore order. "Ambassador Pierce," he said, his voice tight with barely controlled anger, "did Earth authorize this attack?" Accessed her own communication device and pulled up the combat footage. She had not seen it yet, but she had known it was coming. Admiral Stevens had warned her 2 days ago that an operation was in progress. She watched the recording and felt a fierce pride swell in her chest. The Valiant was beautiful. It moved through space like a dancer, appearing and vanishing, striking with perfect precision. The ships looked slow and clumsy by comparison. They fired wildly at targets they could not see. They panicked and fled. And through it all, the Valiant hunted them with cold efficiency. "Yes," said simply, "Earth authorized this action." The chamber fell silent, stared at her as if she had just announced the end of the galaxy. "Do you understand what you have done? You have started a war with the Empire. They will send their full fleet to Earth. They will burn your planet to ash, and the Council will not protect you because you brought this on yourselves." Stood and walked to the center of the chamber. Every eye followed her. She activated the holographic display and replayed the combat footage for everyone to see. 3 times she played it. 3 times the Council watched a single human ship defeat 3 cruisers without taking any damage. "Let me tell you what I understand," said. "I understand that the Empire has been bullying this Council for centuries. I understand that every species in this room is afraid of them. I understand that when they killed 3,000 human civilians, you all looked the other way because it was easier than standing up to them." She paused and looked around the chamber. "But I also understand something else. They are not invincible, they are not unstoppable, and Earth will not bend the knee to them or to anyone else. We tried peace. They chose war. Now they will learn what happens when humanity fights back." A council member from a species did not recognize spoke up nervously. But the footage shows only one ship. The Empire has hundreds of warships. Surely one vessel cannot stop them all. Smiled, it was not a nice smile. Who said we only have one? That caused another wave of panic in the chamber. Species that had ignored Earth for years suddenly wanted information. How many ships did humans have? What were their capabilities? What were their intentions? Let them worry for a few moments before speaking again. Earth wants peace, she said clearly. We have always wanted peace, but we will not achieve peace by being weak. We will not achieve peace by letting our people be murdered without response. The Empire can choose to acknowledge what happened and negotiate reparations, or they can send their fleet to human space and find out exactly how many ships we have. Their choice. Looked like he wanted to argue, but he stayed silent. For the first time since had arrived at the council, the other species were looking at her with something other than dismissive condescension. They were looking at her with respect and fear. This council will take a recess while we consider this development, announced. We will reconvene in 3 hours. As the council members filed out, several of them approached. They wanted to open diplomatic channels with Earth. They wanted to discuss trade agreements. They wanted to position themselves on the right side of whatever was coming. Was polite but non-committal. Earth's position was clear, and it did not need validation from species that had abandoned them when it mattered. Far away in the outer rim, Captain Jake sat in his ready room and reviewed the damage reports. The Valiant had taken no hits during the engagement. 0 casualties. 0 damage. It had been a perfect operation from a tactical standpoint. But knew the real battle was just beginning. The Empire would respond. They would come in force and they would want revenge. Earth had 3 more ships in this sector and 9 more back home. 12 ships total against an empire that had conquered a dozen star systems. Lisa knocked on his door and entered when he called. The crew is celebrating, she said. They think we won. Did we not? Asked. We won a battle, Lisa corrected. But the war is coming, you know that, I know that. They will not let this stand. Nodded slowly. Admiral Stevens sent a message. He is recalling us to Earth. The other stealth ships are being deployed to defensive positions. The response fleet is already being assembled. They will be here within a week. Are we ready? Lisa asked. We are about to find out, replied. He stood and looked out the viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Empire was gathering its strength. Somewhere out there, the most powerful military force in known space was preparing to crush humanity. But humanity had spent thousands of years learning to survive against impossible odds. They had climbed from primitive hunters to spacefaring civilization through determination and adaptability. They had faced extinction dozens of times and always found a way to endure. Tell the crew to prepare for departure, said. We are going home, and when they come, they are going to learn that attacking Earth was the biggest mistake their empire ever made. The War Council chamber on the home world had stood for 1,000 years. Its walls were carved from black stone and decorated with the names of every enemy the Empire had conquered. Hundreds of species, thousands of battles, not a single defeat. Until now, Grand Admiral stood at the head of the massive table and watched his commanders argue. They were scared. He could see it in their body language, hear it in their voices. The impossible footage from the outer rim had shaken them all. We must respond with overwhelming force, General demanded. He was young for his rank and still believed that power alone could solve any problem. Send the entire battle fleet to human space. Show them what happens when primitives attack the Empire. The humans are not primitives, Admiral said quietly. She was older, wiser, and understood military strategy better than anyone else in the room. That vessel in the footage used tactics we have never encountered. Stealth technology beyond our current capabilities. Weapons that bypassed our shields completely. We need to understand what we are facing before we commit our forces. Raised his hand for silence. Commander and Captain are being transported here as we speak. They survived the engagement. They will provide a full report. Until then, we plan based on what we know. He activated the holographic display and replayed the combat footage for what must have been the 50th time. Every viewing made him more concerned. The human ship moved with a grace that seemed impossible for its size. It appeared and disappeared at will, and most troubling of all, it seemed to know exactly where the ships would be before they got there. They studied us, said. That is the only explanation. They learned our tactics. They understood how we fight. and they designed their vessels specifically to counter our strengths. Then we adapt, insisted. We change our tactics, we develop new technologies, we crush them like we have crushed every other enemy. Looked at the young general with something close to pity. You still do not understand. This was not a desperate defense. This was a planned strike. The humans chose when and where to engage. They controlled every aspect of the battle. They let 2 of our crews survive intentionally. This was a message. The room fell silent. Finally, Admiral spoke. What message? That they can kill us whenever they want, said. That our superior numbers mean nothing if they can destroy our ships before we even know they are there. That the Empire is not as invincible as we believed. On Earth, Fleet Admiral Stevens stood in front of the holographic display in Earth Command Headquarters. 12 blue markers floated in the display, representing humanity's stealth warship fleet. It was not an impressive number compared to the hundreds of ships that could deploy. But Stevens knew that quantity was not the only factor in warfare. Admiral, the Valiant is approaching Earth space, Colonel Dan Martinez reported. Captain is requesting permission to dock at Lunar Station 3. Granted, Stevens said. I want him in this room within 6 hours. I need to know everything about how that ship performed in real combat. President Julia Henderson entered the room, flanked by her security detail. Stevens saluted and she waved it away impatiently. Admiral, I need to know if we can win this. They are mobilizing their fleet. Intelligence suggests they have at least 30 warships heading toward our space. Our entire fleet is 12 ships. Give me some good news. Stevens pulled up the tactical analysis. Madame President, we designed these ships for exactly this scenario. Each one can engage multiple enemy vessels simultaneously. Our stealth technology gives us first strike capability in every engagement. Our systems bypass their energy shields. We have tactical advantages they cannot match. But can 12 ships defeat 30? Henderson pressed. In open battle? No, Stevens admitted. But we do not plan to fight an open battle. We will use hit-and-run tactics. We will strike from unexpected angles. We will make them afraid to enter any system without full sensor coverage. We will turn their numbers into a disadvantage. Henderson sat down and rubbed her temples. 3 months ago, we were just trying to get the Council to listen to us. Now we are planning a war with the most powerful empire in known space. How did we get here? They killed our people, Stevens said simply. They did it deliberately and they laughed about it. We tried diplomacy, we tried patience, but some species only understand strength. They respect power, so we showed them power. Colonel Martinez spoke up. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from Ambassador Pierce at the Council station. She says several species want to establish formal alliances with Earth. They are offering military support. Vultures, Henderson said bitterly. They ignored us when we needed them. Now they want to be on our side in case we win. Do we accept? Martinez asked. Stevens and Henderson exchanged glances. Finally, Stevens spoke. Tell the ambassador to be polite but non-committal. We do not need fair-weather friends. If species want to ally with humanity, they can prove it by standing with us before the shooting starts, not after. Back on the home world, Commander stood in the War Council chamber and delivered his report. His body still bore the injuries from the battle. His right arm was in a support device. Burns covered his face, but his voice was steady as he described what happened. The human ship appeared at point-blank range without any sensor warning, he said. Our shields were active, but their weapons passed through as if the shields were not there. Solid projectiles, not energy beams, moving at extreme velocity. 3 impacts and my ship's engine core was destroyed. Why did they not finish you? Asked. Hesitated. I believe they wanted survivors. They wanted us to report what happened. They wanted the Empire to know what they can do. Psychological warfare, observed. They are trying to make us afraid. It is working, said bluntly. Every officer who survived that engagement is terrified of facing that ship again. They move through space like ghosts. They strike without warning. And they show no mercy to aggressors but spare those who surrender. It is unlike any enemy I have faced. Captain, who stood beside, added his own observations. The human commander knew our language. He sent a message referencing a colony ship the Empire destroyed. This was personal for them. This was revenge. Turned to his intelligence advisor, a thin-named. What do we know about human military capabilities? Activated his data pad. Until this engagement, we believed humans had minimal military capacity. Their planets are defended by orbital platforms and a handful of patrol vessels. Nothing that would threaten the Empire. But clearly, our intelligence was incomplete. Show them what we found, ordered. Displayed a series of images. Construction facilities in Earth's asteroid belt, dock yards in lunar orbit, and most concerning, similar stealth signatures detected in 3 other systems near human space. They have been building these ships in secret, said. Our estimates suggest they have at least 12 vessels of this type, possibly more, each one capable of destroying multiple standard warships. The room erupted in arguments again. Some commanders wanted immediate attack. Others counseled caution. A few suggested negotiation. Let them argue for several minutes before silencing them. The Emperor has given me full authority to handle this situation, announced. I have made my decision. We will send a fleet to Earth space, but not to attack. We will demonstrate our strength while opening diplomatic channels. If the humans are reasonable, we can end this before it escalates. If they are not, we will be in position to strike. You want to negotiate with them? Asked incredulously. After they destroyed 3 of our ships. After we destroyed one of their colony ships, corrected. Let us not pretend we are innocent victims here. Nodded, the Empire has never negotiated from a position of perceived weakness. But we have also never been this uncertain about an enemy's full capabilities. We will offer terms, we will show strength, and we will learn more about what we face. Then, if necessary, we will crush them. He looked around at his commanders. Prepare 30 warships for departure. Select our best crews and most experienced officers. We leave in 2 days, and someone find out everything possible about human military history. I want to understand how they think before we face them in battle. Edge of Earth's solar system had never seen so many warships. 30 vessels emerged from jump space in a perfect formation, their dark purple hulls gleaming against the stars. They were impressive, overwhelming, designed to make any enemy surrender at first sight. Grand Admiral stood on his flagship's bridge and studied the tactical displays with satisfaction. All ships report ready status, his tactical officer announced. Long-range sensors are detecting elevated activity in the inner system. The humans know we are here. Of course they know, said. We did not come here to hide. Open a communication channel to Earth Command. It is time to talk. But before the communications officer could comply, the sensor displays erupted with warnings. 12 new contacts appeared on the screens, materializing from empty space like demons from ancient stories. 12 human stealth warships, arranged in a perfect sphere around the fleet. Contact, the sensor officer shouted. Multiple vessels appearing at close range. How did they get so close? Stared at the display in shock. The human ships had been there all along, invisible, waiting. The fleet was surrounded, and they had not detected the trap until it was sprung. All ships shields to maximum, weapons hot, ordered. But do not fire unless I give the command. We came to negotiate. On the bridge of the Valiant, Jake watched the fleet's reaction with grim satisfaction. 11 other stealth warship captains were on the communication channel, waiting for his signal. They could destroy half the enemy fleet before they could even orient their weapons, but had his orders from Admiral Stevens. Show strength, but do not strike first. All ships maintain firing solutions, but hold, commanded. Amy, open a channel to the flagship. Channel open, sir, Amy reported. Fleet, this is Captain Jake of the Earth warship Valiant. You are in human space. State your intentions. There was a long pause, then a deep voice responded in heavily accented English. I am Grand Admiral of the Empire. I came to negotiate an end to hostilities. Raised an eyebrow. That was not what he had expected. Interesting. You come to human space with 30 warships to negotiate peace. Your vessel came to our space with no warships and killed 3 cruisers, replied. I thought this was an appropriate response, a demonstration of strength before discussion. Had to admit the logic. Very well, Admiral, we are listening. The communication switched to a secure channel. His face appeared on the main. He looked old for his species, with scars from many battles, but his eyes were sharp and intelligent. Let us speak plainly, said. The Empire destroyed your colony ship. We did not consider it important at the time. We were wrong. You responded by destroying 3 of our cruisers. Your point is made. Now we can either continue killing each other or we can find a better solution. What solution do you propose? Asked carefully. Formal recognition of humanity as a military power, reparations for the colony ship, a non-aggression pact between our species, and most importantly, an exchange of technology and tactical information. Blinked, you want to share technology with us? Your stealth systems are beyond anything we possess, said bluntly. Our energy shields and faster-than-light drives are beyond anything you possess. Both species could benefit from cooperation, unless you prefer to fight a war that will cost thousands of lives on both sides. Back on Earth, Admiral Stevens listened to the conversation through the secure relay. President Henderson stood beside him, her expression unreadable. He is serious, Henderson said quietly. The Empire actually wants peace. They want to survive, Stevens corrected. They realize we are a genuine threat. This is not generosity, Madame President, this is fear. Does it matter? Henderson asked. If the result is peace and reparations for our people, does it matter what motivated them? Stevens considered carefully. Permission to speak freely. Always. We have them exactly where we want them. They are surrounded. They are scared. They are offering everything we demanded. But if we accept too quickly, they will see it as weakness. If we refuse, we risk a war we might not win. We need to negotiate from strength but show we are reasonable. Henderson nodded slowly. Tell to continue the conversation, but make it clear we want more than words. We want concrete actions. On the Valiant's bridge, received his orders and turned back to. The Earth government is willing to discuss terms, but we need more than promises. We need proof of good faith. What proof? Asked. Your empire keeps slaves from conquered species. Free them, all of them. Show the galaxy that the empire can change. His expression hardened. That is our internal matter. Then we have no deal, said flatly. Earth will not ally with or trust a species that enslaves others. Free the slaves or our ships start firing in 60 seconds. The silence stretched, watched his face and saw the calculations happening behind those alien eyes. The Grand Admiral was weighing options, considering consequences, trying to find a way forward. Finally spoke. If I agree to this, the Emperor may have me executed for exceeding my authority. If you do not agree, you will be dead in the next 5 minutes anyway, replied. At least this way you have a chance. Actually laughed. It was a harsh sound, but genuine. You humans are remarkable. You should not be able to threaten me like this. Your species is young. Your technology is inferior in most areas. Your numbers are small. Yet here I am, considering surrender to avoid annihilation. We did not want this fight, said, but we will finish it if necessary. I believe you, said. He took a deep breath. Very well, I agree to your terms. The Empire will free all slaves and begin paying reparations to humanity. In return, Earth will share stealth technology and agree to a formal peace treaty. Not just with Earth, added. You will sign non-aggression pacts with all the species represented on the Galactic Council. No more conquest, no more bullying. The Empire can remain strong through trade and cooperation instead of war. His expression darkened. You ask for the impossible. The Empire is built on conquest. Then build something better, said. Or watch your ships burn, your choice, Admiral. The tension on both bridges was unbearable. Lisa Grant watched the tactical displays, ready to give the firing order if needed. Ben had his finger over the weapon's release. Every human ship was locked onto multiple targets. And then nodded. Agreed. I will recommend these terms to the Emperor, but this negotiation must happen formally with your Earth command present. We can arrange that, said. How about neutral ground, the Galactic Council station? Let all the species witness this agreement. Very well, but we remain here until the Emperor approves the preliminary terms. My ships will not move. Yours should not either. Smiled. Actually, Admiral, our ships are going to vanish again. You will not be able to track us. But if your fleet makes any hostile move, you will learn exactly where we are. Understood. His laugh was louder this time. Understood, Captain. You have my word as a warrior that we will not fire first. And you have mine, replied. He closed the channel and turned to his crew. All ships return to stealth configuration. Maintain surveillance positions, but do not engage unless fired upon. One by one, the 12 human warships vanished from sensors. Watched them disappear and shook his head in wonder. They are ghosts. We fight ghosts. Should we attack while we have numbers? His tactical officer asked. And hit what? Replied. We cannot see them, we cannot track them. They would destroy half our fleet before we landed a single shot. No, we take this deal and we learn from it. The Empire must evolve or it will die. 3 days later, the Galactic Council chamber was more crowded than it had been in decades. Every major species had representatives present. Ambassador Pierce sat at the human delegation table, trying to maintain diplomatic composure while her heart raced with excitement. Grand Admiral entered the chamber with an escort of honor guards. He looked uncomfortable in the council setting, a warrior forced to become a diplomat, but he walked with dignity to the central platform. "I speak with the authority of the Emperor," announced. "The Empire acknowledges wrongdoing in the destruction of the human colony ship Horizon. We offer formal apology and reparations of 500 million standard credits to the families of victims." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The Empire had never apologized to anyone before. Continued. "Furthermore, the Empire will free all enslaved beings within our territory over the next solar year. We will establish trade agreements instead of tribute systems, and we will sign non-aggression pacts with all species represented on this council." Council head diplomat looked like he might faint. "This is unprecedented. What has brought about this change?" Stood and answered before could. "Respect. The Empire has learned that humanity will not be bullied or dismissed. We prefer peace, but we are prepared for war, and when we make a promise, we keep it." She walked to the center platform and stood beside. To the shock of everyone present, she offered her hand in the human gesture of agreement, looked at the small hand for a moment, then reached out and took it. The gesture was awkward between two such different species, but its meaning was clear. "Earth accepts the Empire's terms," said. "In return, we will share technological developments and work toward lasting peace. But let me be clear to everyone here. This peace exists because both sides chose strength over pride. The galaxy is changing. Species that cannot adapt will be left behind." The formal treaty took hours to negotiate and sign. But when it was done, something fundamental had shifted in galactic politics. The Empire, the most feared military power in known space, had made peace with humanity. Other species took note. If they could change, anyone could. Back on Earth, Jake stood on the observation deck of the lunar station and watched his ship undergo maintenance. Lisa joined him, carrying 2 drinks from the station cafe. "The crew is asking when we deploy again," she said, handing him a drink. "They think we will be fighting more battles." Shook his head. "I hope not. One war was enough. We proved our point. Now we get to find out if peace is possible." "Do you think it will last?" Lisa asked. "I think it has a chance," replied. "Fear brought them to the table, but respect will keep them there. They are warriors. They understand strength. We showed them strength, then we showed them mercy. That combination is something they have never encountered before." He took a sip of his drink and looked out at Earth hanging in space beyond. "We came so close to losing everything. If the Valiant had failed, if they had called our bluff, this war could have ended with Earth in ruins. But we took the risk because some things are worth fighting for." "Like what?" Lisa asked. "Like proving that humanity will not be pushed around. Like showing the galaxy that we keep our promises and protect our people. Like building a future where our children can explore the stars without fear." Below them, the Valiant's hull plating caught the light from the sun. The ship looked peaceful now, silent and still, but knew what it could do when needed. He knew what all 12 ships could do. The galaxy knew it too now, and that knowledge would shape everything that came next. Humanity had taken its place among the stars not through conquest, but through courage. Not through cruelty, but through strength tempered with wisdom. The Earth warships would continue to patrol human space, unseen guardians watching over their people. And the Empire's worst fear had become reality. They had met an enemy they could not defeat, could not intimidate, could not ignore. They had met humanity, and nothing would ever be the same. As the War Council dispersed, approached privately. "You are taking a risk with negotiation. If the other species see us as weak, they may rebel." "If we underestimate the humans and lose more ships, we will look even weaker," countered. "We conquered our empire through strength, yes, but also through intelligence. Right now, we do not have enough intelligence about our enemy. That needs to change." Far above Earth, the Valiant docked at the lunar station. Jake and his crew disembarked to a hero's welcome, but felt no joy, only the weight of what was coming. They had won the first battle, but the war was just beginning and the Empire would not stay shocked forever. Lisa smiled. That message will make them very happy. As she left, returned to his viewport, the three crippled ships were still visible in the distance. Rescue vessels from the Empire would arrive soon to recover the survivors. Those survivors would tell their leaders what happened here. They would describe the human ship that appeared from nowhere and struck without warning. They would talk about the fear they felt. Good thought, let them be afraid. Let them understand that Earth was not helpless. Let them know that humanity protected its own, no matter the cost. The Valiant's engines came to life, and the ship began its journey home. Behind it, the galaxy held its breath and waited to see what would happen when the unstoppable Empire met the immovable humans. Relay beings watched the impossible footage. They watched a single human warship destroy 3 cruisers without taking a scratch. They watched the mighty Empire learn what it meant to be helpless. They watched and they began to fear humanity. On the human warship rotated slightly. Its weapons tracked the second cruiser with mechanical precision. Watched in horror as the impossible ship prepared to fire again. "Get us out of here," he whispered. "Signal retreat, signal full retreat right now." But he knew it was already too late. The hunters had become the hunted, and humanity had just shown the galaxy its teeth.